Oh boy, we have a ton of Cyberpunk 2077 news to go over today. We're talking about cross saves. Yes, it's going to be a thing for Cyberpunk 2077. So if you want to take your save file from, say, the PS4 to PS5 or Xbox to Xbox Series X, you can actually do this. More on this in just a moment. Plus, preload dates and day one patch and game size for Cyberpunk 2077 revealed for the PS4. And also, we're going to be talking about new delays to DLC. Don't panic, Cyberpunk 2077 is still going to be coming out on December 10th, but it looks like this 21-day delay has actually affected the DLC plans. More on that in just a moment. And also, how has the 21 days actually affected the game? More from CD Projekt RED on what they've been able to do during the 21-day delay. And yes, I'm going over your top comments. I love to do it. Remember to leave a comment down below for a chance for it to end up in a future video. But welcome back, everyone. Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good. And let's dive in. So, cross saves. Check this out. This was officially posted by Cyberpunk 2077's Twitter account. They say, attention console players, if you start playing Cyberpunk 2077 on PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you will be able to continue playing it on a corresponding next-gen console. Here's how the cross saves will work. And they go on to say this for the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 cross save backwards compatibility. If you are playing the game on PlayStation 4, you'll be able to continue playing on PlayStation 5 with backwards compatibility. This also means your save files from PlayStation 4 will be compatible and you will be able to pick up the game at the same point where you left off as long as you are using the same PlayStation account. They say there's 3 different options to do this: connect to your PlayStation Plus account and upload your saves, or transfer your data via LAN cable or wireless connection, or use a compatible storage device to copy and transfer your saves to the same PSN account on PlayStation 5. And this is what it says about the Xbox Series XS cross-save backwards compatibility. They say this: smart delivery allows you to continue playing the game on Xbox Series X/S from where you've left off on the Xbox One. Make sure you are connected to the internet so your saved data is uploaded to the cloud, or connect both your Xbox and Xbox Series SX to the same network and use the system network transfer option. So there's your options there for getting the cross saves to actually work. So if you do actually get Cyberpunk 2077 later down the road on your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, you can actually just continue your journey. Let me know how many of you plan to actually do this. Now, what about that day one patch and also preloading the game? So this comes for the PlayStation 4. It is going to be 71.730 gigabytes at release. They don't have any information about a day one patch just yet. I imagine there's going to be something like that. But the download size is going to be roughly 72 gigabytes, and you can preload on December 8th, so 2 days before launch day, which is again going to be December 10th right there. But hopefully we're not hit with a massive day one patch. That would really suck. It should be sitting there because everyone would be downloading the patch and it would be super slow. So hopefully they avoid that one. Now, CD Projekt RED has delayed Cyberpunk 2077's DLC reveal until after release. Plus, multiplayer expected to be discussed early next year. Let's get into this one right here. Now, sources are in the description below, as always, if you want to read the full articles for yourself. They say this: CD Projekt RED will now reveal plans for Cyberpunk 2077's DLC and story expansions post-release, it said. And furthermore, they go on to clarify the following here. The company also looks set to share more information about its Cyberpunk multiplayer game in the first quarter of 2021. CD Projekt RED provided an update on their projects during its third quarter earnings call on Wednesday. Now they go on to say Cyberpunk 2077's DLC and story expansions were initially due to be announced before the game's release, but plans changed following several delays to the game, which is now due to launch on December 10th. Furthermore, they say, ask when CD Projekt RED will announce and start selling a season pass for Cyberpunk 2077. President and joint CEO Adam Kowinski says this: the initial plan was to do it before release, but after the recent delay, we decided to wait for the release to provide gamers with the game and then start talking about future projects. So, after release. That's kind of a bummer, but it's no big deal. I just really want to enjoy the core game anyway, and I think this is the best way to do it anyways. Furthermore, they say this: Kowinski previously said Cyberpunk 2077 will have no less DLC than The Witcher 3 had. The Witcher 3 received 2 story expansions promising an additional 30 hours of gameplay, plus 16 other pieces of DLC following its release on May 2015. So yeah, sounds like the post release schedule of DLC and stuff like that for Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be quite extensive. Furthermore, it says CD Projekt RED said in January that Cyberpunk multiplayer game wasn't likely to arrive before 2022. Asked on Wednesday's call if it's still coming in 2022, Quincy said, "We haven't announced any date so far." So no real updates about that one. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it were released even further out, maybe even into 2023. But that's me just speculating. Quincy expects to share information about the Cyberpunk multiplayer game and other new titles during a strategy update in Q1 next year, either at a dedicated event or as part of the company's full year financial results, which are traditionally announced each March, although this year they were published in early April. So yeah, stay tuned here. I will have updates about what's going on with the standalone multiplayer game from CD Projekt RED related to Cyberpunk 2077 universe. Furthermore, they say this, he later reiterated that the Cyberpunk multiplayer project is not a Cyberpunk 2077 add-on, but it's its own AAA release. It's a separate, dedicated production, a big production, he said, and we think about it as a standalone product. Obviously, it's not entirely standalone as it comes from the universe of Cyberpunk and is very much related to the concept of single-player Cyberpunk. I am honestly super hyped about this one. I'm more about the single-player, to be honest with you, but still, no matter what, I am super hyped to see what they do with this standalone multiplayer experience. Furthermore, Cyberpunk 2077 on base PS4 and Xbox One is surprisingly good for such a huge world, says CD Projekt RED. The developer says it was able to achieve a lot during the 3 extra weeks of polish. So yeah, since they delayed it to December 10th, it looks like they got a lot done. It goes on to say this, whether or not Cyberpunk 2077 will be able to hit an acceptable level of performance on the base PS4 and Xbox One is something that many have been concerned about for a while now. CD Projekt RED themselves, who intent on releasing a 90 plus Metascore game, delayed the game by 3 weeks to optimize it further on the base console. So with that delay under their belt, how is the game now performing on the machines? Great question. They say this, CD Projekt RED CEO Adam Quincy recently spoke about the game during the company's recent quarterly investors call and basically said that these 3 additional weeks have helped the development of the game to reach a better performance for the base machines. He says, I mean, PS5 is great, PS4 is still very good. I mean, we have had extra 3 weeks and we achieved a lot by within this final stretch. So we believe that the game is performing great on every platform. Furthermore, goes on to say this, it's worth noting that even though we have seen Cyberpunk 2077 running on the Xbox One X and on the PS4 Pro, we haven't seen any gameplay yet on the base machines. That's really important to note. Quincy said, however, says that the game performs, surprisingly good on those 2 machines for a game of its size. Of course, a bit lower than on pros, but surprisingly good, I would say, for such a huge world. So, bit lower, but very good. That's the answer. So, we have seen, the Xbox One and then the PlayStation 4 Pro versions of the game, and he says it's actually running a little bit lower than that. Let me know if that brings any concerns or not. Post a comment down below. It's a little concerning, to be honest, but I'm curious to see what happens. Hopefully, it's running at a solid 30 frames per second. It needs to be running at a solid 30 frames on the base PS4 and Xbox One. That's my opinion. For me, frame rate is king when it comes to these open world games because I've experienced bad frame rate on open world games before. Check this out. 2 new screenshots right here. Here is Evelyn and, of course, Adam Smasher. Check that out. So yeah, these were recently released. Remember, sources in the description below. Alrighty then, now it's time for your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video, but I found this one right here hilarious. This comes from Reddit. It says, poor Ever has less than 2 weeks left. And of course, you see Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk 2077 lurking in the shadows, ready to attack. I thought that was freaking hilarious. But anyway, first off comment comes from Mummin, who says, I'll actually start as a nomad so that I can learn about Night City at the same time as my character. I thought this was an excellent idea. What a way to learn about Night City. Remember, when you choose your life paths in the game, it's really going to be more devoted towards that first 6 hour of play. That's going to be wholeheartedly different in your entire experience, you know? So once you get past that, the dialogue options throughout the entire game will be different. And some of your skills, I imagine, will also be different. But yes, what a way to learn about Night City as like kind of an outsider going into the city, getting a tour of it. That would be very cool. Now, Jeff Goldie says this: there's no possible way they could delay the game again. Last time they delayed the game, it was 21 days to launch. Now we're approaching 10. There would be complete outrage. Yeah, no, I don't see any potential of another delay from here on out at all. There's been shots on Reddit of like retailers with boxes and boxes of PS4 and Xbox One copies ready to go. I mean, these are physical copies at the stores right now, ready to go. So, yep, I don't see that happening. Nefarious says, Red Dead Redemption 2's climax is easily the most I've been touched by a video game story. Borderlands 2's Tiny Tina DLC and the Walking Dead game series also come straight to mind. And I asked you guys previously, what games have you left you emotional or even crying? Because in Cyberpunk 2077, there's apparently going to be some missions in this game that will leave you in tears, at least according to Projekt RED, and from some of the journalists that have actually played the game. So that is super exciting to see that they've tapped into such emotion with this game, and they're succeeding in a way with their storytelling. But a lot of you went on to say that Red Dead Redemption 2 was really the one that got you. I saw some of you mention The Last of Us, Telltale's Walking Dead, and, you know, a few other games. But yeah, those definitely do hit that spot that makes you cry for sure. But tears in your eyes makes you emotional. Okay, so Prophes says this: Middle Earth Shadow of War, only game that made me cry after the true ending. It's brilliant, and Talion is probably the most badass hero I've ever seen. I've actually never completed that full game, and I really, really want to. There's so many games, but yeah. There's also another Lord of the Rings game in the works, which I'm excited about. We'll hopefully hear about more of that next year. So I'm probably going to be covering that one. So stay tuned for anything Lord of the Rings related, because yeah, I'm a pretty big Lord of the Rings fan when it comes to the movies. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more open world gaming goodness, and of course, Cyberpunk 2077. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Take care.